Greetings gamers, welcome to the Peanut Gamer channel's Mechanical Breakdown. This is a new series where we will start off a game. We will play it for as long as we need to understand every mechanic that the game has to offer. We will only be commenting on the mechanics of the game. This is why this series is called a Mechanical Breakdown. Now, other than that, the game for this Mechanical Breakdown will be Skullgirls. Skullgirls is a 2D fighting game with a generally speaking anime aesthetic. It wasn't really promoted at the time, however, it was pretty good, and I decided to come back and play it quite a long time after it was released. A few more fighters came out, and I was kind of excited to play it. Fighting games usually are about mechanics. The storylines aren't complex, so it's easy to give off this mechanical breakdown off without having too much to worry about the story that Skullgirls want to tell. However, I will start off by saying that the single player is not something extremely good. The single player mode of Skullgirls features each character with a different storyline. I will not comment on the writing or the cutscenes or the way that they are done, although in the background you will be able to see some of that. I will comment on the difficulty. If you have played fighting games before, and if you did search up a few combos, the single player component is not hard. Unless if you're talking about the final level, the Skullgirl, every character can be beat in one way or the other without having too much difficulty on the single player component, even on Nightmare mode. The footage that you see is on Nightmare mode at the time, and while yes, I kinda get my ass beat at the time of the recording, I wasn't really practiced. I've let the game for a while, so it wasn't the ideal time to record footage for this video. However, this is all I got, considering that the game has a certain amount of issues with crashes, and it doesn't really come up with the recording software that I use. Anyway, the multiplayer mode of the game is the main component of it all, and it's actually pretty interesting and pretty good. But since the mechanical breakdown is about the mechanics and a general review, I will start talking about the fighters. For the purpose of this video, I tried to learn every fighter that there is. However, I wasn't really able to do that because some of them have like some unique combos that are really hard to master, and generally speaking, I basically learned 4 or 5 out of the 9 fighters. I did not buy any of the DLC because yes, the fighters are pretty exciting, but I did not want to spend more money on the game since the fighters that are there are quite unique and quite nice. Starting off with Philia. Philia is a kind of character that deals a reasonable amount of damage and has solid combo potential. She is able to cancel out a lot of moves, and especially mid-air, her cancels are pretty strong, with Gregor Samson being a pretty solid hit confirm move to possess. The hairball is also pretty strong to both close off distances and deal a certain amount of damage. Her defenses are not really great because yes, she can dodge stuff and she does have a double jump and speed when she's on the air with the cancels. However, she is really vulnerable when it comes to actually defending attacks that are on her way. This is a pretty solid fighter. I actually like Philia a lot. Her low kicks, her mid kicks and high kicks, especially when crouched, are a pretty strong combo. Her lag, yes, it's pretty annoying and you can't get your ass beat if you do not time them correctly. But if you cancel out of a mid kick into a low kick combo into a hairball and then recurrent Samson, the amount of damage you deal is more than just reasonable. Philia is also aesthetically and technically pretty good. Her hitbox is not gigantic, it's not really small either, but it's actually one of the hitboxes that I found that work the best. She's unique, she is interesting, and she's a fighter that many people who are new to fighting games will actually like, because while her combos can be really weird and really complex, she has a few really simple combos that you can learn in the training section of the game. The next fighter I'm going to be talking about is Misfortune. Misfortune is a cat that her head comes off. Other than that, Misfortune is the kind of character that deals a lot of damage in small combos and small flashes. She has a lot of combo potential that is far better than Philia's. However, the damage she deals is not as good. Her medium to crouch to high to air attacks into the cancel she can present are pretty good and can make up for a one-sided match pretty easily. She also has a really big damage, remember the Fifth of Dismember move, that yes, he does kind of use up 3 of her gouges, but it does a huge amount of damage and it's pretty easy to land if you know how to use your head. Now that I talked about the head is actually a mechanic that is only present with Misfortune. She can move around her head and attack and has special moves that only the head can do alone. She can also bring it back and throw it at the enemies and deal damage. Her hitbox is reasonable and usually works, and she's actually a fighter that I would also suggest to people that like combos and hit confirming. Parasol is the kind of heavy hitter that you would like if you're the kind of person that likes to deal a reasonable amount of damage, but not too huge on the attack lag. Your moves do have a certain amount of attack lag, but you can poke enemies from afar with your napalm shots. You have low, medium and high napalm shots. You also have your gun where you can shoot. Most of your gouge attacks are actually ranged and do not put you in danger. Some of them cannot even be cancelled by the enemy, and they deal, well, a reasonable amount of damage. Parasol is the kind of character that not really combo competent, but her air combos do deal a certain amount of damage that's actually quite reasonable in terms of the speed that it's dealt, and the combo counter does not go really up, which means that the damage that you deal is not really reduced because you deal that many attacks. So it's actually one of the better air combos that I found in the game, which is also pretty hard to cancel if you do not have a combo breaker available at the time. Painwheel. Well, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really play Painwheel. I did learn most of her combos, but I'm not quite able to execute them. In the background, you will see at some point a match with me playing Painwheel. Well, I don't really do good. Well, considering that the enemy is a Peacock, I never do against Peacocks any good unless I'm playing Philia. But anyway, Painwheel is the kind of character that deals huge amount of damage when she is able to connect her combos. She has a long attack animations and a rather large hitbox, so she is kind of vulnerable. She also has really big lag attacks, which means that the enemy will be able to respond to her if she's not quick and swift enough. She does have the benefit of being able to fly, which is pretty solid because her air combos is actually really good as well. Peacock! I hate Peacock. I learned to play Peacock and I play Peacock really well. Peacock is a range kind of character. She has a lot of moves that deal ranged damage and like to poke at the opponent. Bang 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 is one of them, and it's pretty useful when you want to keep a distance. Also, throwing bombs on your enemies either high or low is pretty annoying, and you can actually keep a really fair distance. Also, your air combo can actually not be blocked at the point where you sit in, like when you hit 20 hits, which means you can actually poke at your opponents until he gets a combo breaker, and when he does, you will actually be able to grab him and usually perform your ultimate, which is like, I don't remember quite the name of it. However, Peacock is the kind of character that's really fragile if she does get caught in a pickle, because if she doesn't manage to keep a distance or starts off a combo, Peacock really is vulnerable to combos because she gets her combo breaker later than most characters, and while she doesn't have a damage multiplier, she is pretty weak, and her hitbox is actually, while she appears small, her hitbox is actually quite large on the sides, not on the heights as much as the sides. And also her moves actually require a certain amount of momentum to have be gained, which means that if the game is going poorly, you do not want to pull off Peacock as your fighter. Cerebella. Well, Cerebella is a weird character. She's a mix of heavy attacks and light kicks. This is usually weird because other characters tend to have stronger kicks than they do have punches, and the lag tend to be smaller on the punches. However, Cerebella has really strong punches. She doesn't have a huge amount of combo potential, however, her ultimates are strong. Especially her Showstopper is a really strong combo where you actually, if the opponent does not block the first attack, you will actually not gain a way to stop it. That means that he will be dealt the whole amount of damage with no chance to actually block it, and it deals a reasonable amount of damage. Her air combos are not her strong point, but she is able to keep poking at her opponent, and if they try to keep a certain amount of range. And that means that the opponent will try to get in closer to get in some damage, and Cerebella exceeds at that. However, she really has a problem when she is stunned, and that means that basically Cerebella is pretty much useless. If the enemy starts off putting off a combo, then Cerebella will be hard to come back as well. She's like, Peacock's is like a class cannon in that respect. Valentine is him to hit confirm. Every move that she has is actually benefit from hit confirming. And yes, every fighter does that, sure. But Valentine is a kind of character that can deal a certain amount of damage if she doesn't hit confirm. But then if she does, and she is able to connect many of her attacks that are follow-ups mainly and big up combos and stuff, she's really strong, especially her medium high kick into a crouch low kick combo is pretty strong and deals a great amount of damage in a really small time. Double. Well, Double is a weird character. She uses moves from other characters and she's able to combo them in correctly. She uses her strongest move, which will make her a really weird character to actually choose and play. She's really strong if you manage to master her. I did not manage to master her, but I did manage to play a fair amount of her and actually do pretty good in some of the online matches I got up on. I only though played Double alone. I did not play with any teammates since I did consider her combos a bit unique, and the way she's played is definitely unique. Also, the aesthetic that she has is also maybe the most interesting in the whole game. While you might say she doesn't have a lot of character, she actually does, because taking every move from other characters is actually an ability which is weird on a gameplay level. You will be able to play Double even if you do not, even if you button smash, but you won't be able to play it at full potential, which to me Double is actually one of the strongest fighters in the game when she's alone. She's not a glass cannon. She does have the ability to do pretty much anything she wants. She can double jump, she can air cancel, she can air dash, she can dash on the floor. She's basically my favorite character that I did not manage to master as much as I would have liked to. Fukua really reminds me of Philia personally. The moveset also followed by the special moves. Of course, you do have more range potential. However, you do not really change up your playstyle. The playstyle is generally speaking the same. And yes, she is interesting of and of itself. However, it's not the best fighter I could have found out there. Not a risking, but still not an interesting fighter. I will be talking about one DLC character, since I said I will not be playing those, so I cannot really comment on them. Big Band. Okay, Big Band has the huge disadvantage of being pretty huge. His hitbox is gigantic and he can be hit by anything that is thrown at him, generally speaking. However, Big Band is also a kind of broken character, because other than his hitbox, his attacks hitboxes are also broken. You see, especially the low step is broken as hell. It can basically hit anything inside the level. His combo, as you can probably see in the video, is also something you cannot stop. It's something you can only combo break. However, the amount of damage it deals is amazingly stupid, and you can combo, yes, you can combo break it, but usually you'll be dead before you have the time to do that. And combined with Cerebella, like you see in the video, is one of the most broken combos, because Cerebella has a gigantic mean move where you can actually get thrown in the air and you don't really have any response time. And especially when playing online, Big Band is a nightmare to play against. Now that I'm done with the fighters, this is actually to be heard by most professional, say, fighting game players. There are a few systems that kind of taken off by other fighting games. There's a combo breaker, whereas if you are hit one too many times, you have the ability to combo break, which means that the opponent will be thrown far away from you and will not be able to attack you for a while. While it is strong, I would have liked it to be kind of a less time consuming thing, because you can actually get one shot by many of the characters if you're not careful and you get into the infinity loop of their combos. You're not able to block them. I tried it, I searched it, there are infinity loops in their combos and you cannot block them after they are started. Usually those have to do with more than one characters being at the same team, not one solid character alone. Peacock did have it, but they did fix it at some point in time, because it was really annoying because people would keep playing Peacock just to get that combo up. The ranked system is not really something you should worry about. There are not that many people playing the game, so if you find someone without too much lag playing, then sure, go ahead play. Even if you lose your first games, this is not something you should worry about. The first few hours of the game will be kind of weird for you, even if you played other fighting games, because there are some stuff in there that kind of weird to find out, say, the special moves and cancels that are there, but I guess that's for every fighting game that is different than any other fighting game. This is my personal belief that I think Skullgirls is a really solid opener to someone like wanting to take place in the fighting game scene. I personally wasn't a huge fighting game fan anytime. Like, I barely even played Street Fighter 4. I played some Mortal Kombat, and I think that Skullgirls actually put me into the fighting game scene, and I'm starting to think about Street Fighter 5 more seriously, about getting it and actually starting to play it more fanatically. I'm not sure what I'll do. I would also suggest a fight stick for this game, as pretty much any fighting game. This is my personal mechanical breakdown of Skullgirls. I actually have a lot more information on the game that I learned by playing, but if I added every single detail, that would be kind of weird, and this video would be be like 50 minutes long. There's information we basically got Philly and Misfortune and Peacock, I think. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you're interested in more mechanical breakdown, please leave us a like in the comment if you so desire. That's it, folks.